Hey, how's it going, everyone? This is Charles, and this is another Charles Snyder Raw, which is unscripted, unfiltered, and mostly unedited versions of me talking about business, life, and everything that I'm facing, how I just do stuff. Um, as you may recall, I've talked about my vivid vision. I've talked about uh, my intro video and a lot of other stuff that that I've been working on since mid-December, since right before Christmas through January, through the end of January, and I'm still working on today. Um, the thing I wanted to talk to you about was, or the thing that's the most foremost on my mind right now, is I'm going back through and I'm just making sure that the foundation what I'm working on. Everything I do as far as all these videos, the articles I've been writing, all of our social media, everything to do with from our company intro video through all these other videos that I've been working on. The whole gist of this is to, number one, restate our mission, which is, uh, we help small businesses find more customers. There's a lot of reasons behind that. I'm not going to get into all that detail. You can check that out on our company intro page if you're interested in that. The main the main point here is I wanted to talk about how you're how you're constructing your website, how you're building out your framework and building that foundation to help drive traffic to your brand, your website, and ultimately to your products and services. In order to do that, you have to have a good foundation. You have to have a good foundation to build a house. You have to have an even better foundation to build a skyscraper. So let's let's talk about that for a minute. That's kind of what's foremost on my mind because I'm going back through and making sure that my foundation is good so that all this other stuff that I'm doing stands the test of time. It does, as I start stacking more and more stuff on this, that it doesn't just crumble and fall apart. In a lot of my older articles that I've written, over the last 2, almost 3 years now, and even before that, when I was doing a lot of public speaking and going to some speaking at conferences and workshops, stuff like that, I've talked about a lot of stuff to deal with websites. Talked about, the structure you should have, the basics of what you need to have on a website, how to do some SEO with it. I've done a lot of stuff with that, but I haven't done anything as far as bringing that whole picture together and why that's important or why you need to have that. I'm not getting back into the whole web design part of it, but this, every business owner needs to have that foundation because otherwise, everything just falls apart the bigger and bigger that this gets. So, that being said, you may, if you read those articles and stuff back then, you may have heard me talk about, backlinking. I've even done a little bit of that in some of the videos that I did last year. And I've also talked about Google Love, Link Juice, whatever you want to call it. But the thing is all this traffic coming into your website. You have to have a good foundation, or as I like to think of it, as a framework. Um, using a house as an example, again, you have to have a good foundation, like I said, but for the walls and the roof and the interior walls, you also have to have some framework to put those walls up. So let's kind of bring this analogy into what I'm talking about as far as a website goes. Um, your pages on your homepage, that's your front wall. That's where your front door is. That's where your guests come into your house. Your website is your house, electronically speaking, metaphorically speaking, of course. And the other pages are your interior walls to your living room, your office, etc., which is, your About Us page. Every website should have an About Us page. Every website should have a Contact Us page. And every website should also have a blog. I highly recommend that you integrate the two and you don't have a separate blog from your website. And a lot of guys are saying, well, you got like some of these other services out here like Wix and Google website, or not Google, GoDaddy website in minutes, or whatever the hell they're calling it this week. The problem with those kind of sites is this: you don't own your traffic. Let that sink in for a second. You do not own the traffic that comes to your website. If you're on GoDaddy, if you're on WordPress.com, Wix, or all the other names just escaping me right now. But the bottom line is you do not own your traffic. You do not own the resources that you need in order to build your list to market to people. Sure, there's integrations and stuff in there. There's ways to work around it, and it's a lot more involved. But the bottom line is you can't always track all of your traffic. You're blind. You're flying blind because you cannot see everything that those people are doing on your website. If you are not using your Google Analytics, and you're pixeling the site with your Facebook Pixel, the Google Pixel, and some of these other tracking analytics, you're losing out. You're flying blind, and sooner or later you're going to fly into something. That's why that's why I recommend that you stay away from those kind of things. You need a real website. That being said, then you need some form of a content management system, otherwise known as a CMS. I prefer WordPress. There's others out there: Joomla, Drupal, BlogPress, or something like that. There's thousands of these programs out there. So, and most of them are free. So it's not that big of a deal. You need web hosting, you need a domain name, and you get one of these free scripts, and you have a basic website in a box. It needs to be set up. You need to add content, do some design work, pick a theme, whatever, that's all immaterial at this point. Once you have a real website, then you're able to use something, you're able to use those Google tags, the Google Pixel, the Facebook Pixel, the Google Analytics. There's a whole list of them. And there's integrations for like all the different social media platforms, such as Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, Google AdWords, Google Plus. The list goes on and on. But anyway, you have to have a foundation. That foundation is your website, which needs to have a blog, and you need to have the ability to integrate all these other tracking analytics so you can actually see what people are doing on your website, and then you can retarget those people using those tracking analytics. And then you can do fancy stuff like on Facebook and even on Google. You can retarget people in a lookalike, what's basically called, on Facebook, it's called a lookalike audience. On Google, I can't remember what the actual term is, but the basic thing is you're taking a segment. The people that visit your site, they have certain demographics about them. There's a lot of similarities, whatever the case may be. Those are your people, those are the people that are attracted to your website to begin with. So then with all these analytics and everything else, what you're doing is you're figuring out, okay, these are these people have in common. Let's expand this to everything that, Facebook, Google, Twitter, Instagram, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, all of them have in common, and let's market to everybody. Or maybe not everybody, but everyone within a certain geographic location. Whether it's within a certain mile radius of your business, within a certain city, within a certain zip code, within a certain state, within a certain country, whatever the case may be. The bottom line is, without those analytics, you can't do the rest of that shit like retargeting. Anyway, I could go on and on about this for, at least a half hour, probably longer, but that's the gist of what I wanted to get across today. That's what I'm working on with my business. I already have the website, I have the blog, I have like all my social media integrated into that. And I'm using what is called a Google Tag Manager. If you don't know about it, you need to learn about it. I'm going to have some stuff coming up about it. I'm probably going to do a 5-minute with Charles video about the Google Tag Manager. Plus, I'm going to have some additional content. This is the part where I make some money with it. I'm going to have some additional content where you can either A, learn how to do it on your own, or B, have my company do it for you. Do it with me. Show me how to do it. There's the two aspects. The consulting part is I'm doing that right now, and I'm doing that for free. I highly recommend you get you a real website and with a real domain name, with a blog, adding content to it, and you integrate all your social media into that. Have your name across all the different things. I mean, if you're just trying to fly by the seat of your pants with just a Facebook page, yeah, you can kind of make that work. But the bottom line is you're missing out on a whole hell of a lot more traffic by having a real website that you can't really do with Wix, GoDaddy website, instant website, or whatever, like I said, whatever they're calling it this week. That's the gist of it. So if you don't have that, you better get it. I highly recommend it. And I don't just recommend it. Some people I just found recently, I've been doing some reading on them, called Blitz Metrics. Maybe I'll include link down here in the article with this video, but they got a lot of great stuff on there, and it's a lot of what I've been talking about for the past couple of years. So don't just take my word for it. This is a multi-million-dollar company doing the same thing that I've been recommending for years. And there's my fiance, so I need to go talk to her. Have a great day. It's Monday. Love, peace, and chicken grease.